Hey everyone. Recently, we had a problem with one of our products that a vendor supplies, and so it's a significantly large consignment. There's a lot of products we get from that vendor, and this was another new product that we were getting, and they build it for a specific purpose. When we send it to our field, this specific business division that was using this product used it for a use case that the vendor hadn't thought of. They had never tested probably for it, and it started giving a very poor performance and experience to the user. So we went back to the vendor, we explained to them what was going on, defining the problem and giving them an opportunity to actually see and replicate in an environment where they can trace and debug is definitely one of the first steps that is required in such a case. So we did that, and about 3-4 weeks in, they delivered a solution. But in the process, one of the questions that came from our management, non-technical, pure management side of the house, was did we make a bad choice? For a vendor of this size, they should know what they're delivering, and why did they build something that had such a poor experience for our field? And that's what I was trying to explain. I did explain. What I told them was, it's very easy to write bad software. Everyone does it. Microsoft makes a mistake, Google does it, Apple does it. Any program, and like how I said in my AI blog before, computers by design, by concept, are dumb. Any intelligence that goes into a program has to come from the programmer. If you write a program and if you make one bad call to say look for a foreground activity every few seconds, the computer is not going to tell you that it's going to ruin your user experience, the front end screen experience, or it's going to freeze your background operations. You ask a computer to do something, you code for something, it will do it. Another example, I was actually writing a code last night. I fixed it, but basically I was expecting the user to press a button, then I take the timestamp, and then in a loop I was refreshing the timestamp, and when the difference between the timestamp was more than a certain number of seconds, say 5 seconds, I would do something else. Well, the mistake I did was I acquired the running timestamp, the loop timestamp, before I acquired the button timestamp. So what happened was, when I took the difference for the first iteration, it became negative, and I was comparing it against an integer. So the entire comparison went for a toss, and I started getting very weird results. And the problem with those things is, the problem never manifests itself where it occurs. You see it somewhere else in the code. And it took me about 10 minutes to put a lot of debugs and traces, but the point being, code is very fragile. Any program is very fragile, and that's why it takes a lot of testing and fine-tuning and performance tuning to make a good program. One thing that I have seen is, and this is just a number I'm throwing out of hat, maybe 70 to 80% of programmers I have known just write something and then they take performance as an afterthought. And that's an approach that works. It's a time saving approach. You can make progress quickly. But a good programmer, you don't have to be performance engineer to do that. A good programmer has the big picture in mind as you are coding. You don't have to have all the numbers, you don't have to have all the performance testing scenarios in your head. All you need to have is the big picture. Where is my data? Who's updating it? Who's owning it? How many times is this going to run? Am I doing this first or that first? If there are a million conditions and the 3 of those conditions account for say 90% of the calculations, why not put those up front? Those things come from experience. Programmer who has done a lot of similar things eventually will do that intuitively, meaning put the code that is more efficient and more useful. So that was the point of my discussion. I did explain to my management that it's very easy to write bad code. In this case, looks like they didn't even know that there was a use case for this device, and once they understood what the use case was and started testing and debugging, they were able to give us good results. And that coming up with a fix and actually deploying it or releasing it within 3 to 4 weeks, to me is a great achievement, and I would take it over any other partner at this point, right? So just something I thought I'll talk about. All right.